smash all that profit overseas.
Well, what happened under the government before Kevin Rudd got in? How much were these companies paying in tax when they took our land, took our resources?
Yeah, I went and had a meeting with my federal member the other day, so I don't know the answer to the question, but I'll tell you what I understand. The federal member for Flynn, where I am up here in Queensland, said to me the other day that the problem with our system is that we charge too much tax on our corporate entities, but we've allowed shell companies to come into the country. So our big businesses that would be positioned here paying a fixed 20% tax. If we would allow 20% tax or 15% tax instead of 30, we say 30% tax for the companies, and they say no worries, and they use the other loopholes deliberately. The government knows what they're doing. When they go over to Singapore, set up head office over there, companies that's paid 2% tax or something over there, and then they put their little shell companies, their little operating companies here on shore. All the money flows back over there, and that's where the tax is paid. So they pay some royalties here. But the real tax money is over there where they're paying 2%. So he's saying that you'd be better off reducing it to 20% tax rate and closing the loopholes from getting offshore. He said, but go out and tell anybody in Australia that businesses need to pay less tax. And he said, and watch them spear you and put you up on the pike. And I said, all you got to do is show them the legislation, mate. Your job is not to show them your opinion. Your job is to show them the legislation where the loophole is, and say, this is the legislation. This is an example of what the loophole looks like for, BHP, all of these different companies. And I said, and educate people, mate. The information is all people need to make their own informed decision. I said, so far you give the information to about here of the government. Big business start taking profit from about here. And the gap that we find in the middle is where conspiracy theories go nuts. And we make up whatever we want to do to fill that gap. Some of it's true, some of it's not. But at the end of the day, it's all dismissible because it's too big of a jump for the average person's brain to think from here to here. So, they just want, this is everything I've been told is enough information here, and stop thinking about it.
Right.
Or let's look at our annual reports of this, the ANZ, who's quite comfortably made $7.4 billion profit last year in a year where we had a cost of living crisis and eight interest rate rises. How did their profit go up, and how do they make $7 billion on the backs of Australian people?
$32 billion, mate, the banks were making it. $32 billion. And my thing is, inflation, pig's ass. Have a look at what the banks are doing. Look at the corporate profits of fucking Coles and Woolies, mate. And Pauline Hanson, I'm not sure what your opinion of her, but I watch a bit of her stuff. She does a lot of stuff on TikTok, mate. She's fighting for us so much. It's not funny, I mean, I'm sure you've seen a lot of her on your channel.
Yeah, I don't watch a lot of anybody, to tell you the truth. I take my information in sort of long form, historic form datas. I do get a bit, but I'm a sci-fi buff, and I love books, stories, sci-fis, and so I've watched every movie ever made, and now I realise that makes me the actual guru at understanding what's going on, because they've told us the entire way through this, as they have to. My understanding for universal law is that they have a karmic debt to pay if they do not tell you what they're doing, and if you do not remove your consent, so if you whatever you watch, if you do not say I do not consent to that, at the end of that thing, you have just given silence is consent, and that's true in the physical and in the spiritual.